Little Dixie here. Today I want to talk to you about mental toughness because I feel like it's very important in life in general, but especially smart to improve before a thru hike. When you're mentally tough, you're able to handle stress better, and in general, people tend to be happier because they don't just spiral anytime there's a minor inconvenience. So having mental toughness in life in general translates to a better chance at being successful in thru hiking. And I feel like even in backpacking, not just thru hiking, but especially in thru hiking, having the mental fortitude to continue to go after your goal day after day through literally mud, rain, physical torture. I mean, yes, there is a lot of physical aspect to a thru hike, but at the end of the day, I really feel like it's all about having the mental strength, barring, running out of money or having some serious physical injury. So let's get started on talking about how we can improve that in regular life that will also flow over into mental toughness for thru hiking. The first way to improve mental toughness that I want to talk about is increasing your BDNF. From what I understand, BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, is a protein that's critical for the brain's ability to adapt and adjust. I read that it's often described as miracle grow for the brain because it nourishes the brain cells and also kind of triggers the creation of new neurons in our brains. But how does having more BDNF necessarily connect to having more mental toughness? Well, obviously, if your brain is in better condition and better health in general, then that's going to help prevent the effects of stress on your brain and allow you to cope better with adversity. So that sounds good and fine, but how can we actually increase the BDNF in our brains? Well, the basic, straightforward answer from what I understand is live a healthy lifestyle, like all of the things, exercise, eat well, get good sleep, go out and enjoy the sunlight. And as far as the eating well goes, particularly adding blueberries into your diet. So maybe add those in with your breakfast every morning. And as far as the exercise goes, apparently it's important to have specific exercise. I mean, I assume exercise isn't bad, right? So it will help. But apparently having exercises that really make your brain focus more instead of things that you can do mindlessly will help increase the BDNF. So I saw this TED Talk with a guy named Joe Risser, and he was talking about BDNF and specifically planking because 90% of a plank, if you've ever done one, is brain power, is mentally going, I can do this. I will get through this. I only have this much time left. And apparently the record holder for the plank, or at least at this time that he was doing this TED Talk, was 10 hours, 10 minutes, and 10 seconds. And that just absolutely blows my mind. So it's not so much a physical thing as a mental toughness thing. And I feel like that really relates to thru hiking. So maybe as you're preparing to do a thru hike, yes, any kind of exercise and being in the best shape you can will help, but also focusing on some of the exercises that really require you to hold in there strong with your brain. And doing that will hopefully help you prepare better for the mental side of a thru hike. Other ways to improve BDNF are introducing controlled stressors. So things like cold showers or cold plunges. It doesn't even have to be a full-on cold plunge, I don't think, but just having some kind of physical discomfort. So take your hot shower and then the last 60 seconds or, however long you can build up to, put your shower as cold as it will go. And especially in the wintertime, I feel like, this is a little bit harder, but doing that, cold plunges, sauna. So anything that's got these kind of extreme ends that are uncomfortable to your body and add, again, controlled stressors. But not only will this be good for increasing BDNF, but getting you used to those extreme temperatures. I mean, we typically live a pretty cozy lifestyle, in our climate controlled boxes we live in, our climate controlled boxes with wheels that we go to another climate controlled box that we work at. And, you know, we're not used to having to experience discomfort when it comes to temperatures. But when you're on a thru hike, that's going to be pretty normal. Going from extreme cold to maybe extreme heat all in the same thru hike, or backpacking trips. If you like to go backpacking in the desert, sitting in the sauna will help you get acclimated to that more extreme temperature. And same thing if you winter hike, getting used to the colder temperatures. So adding those things in will benefit you in many ways. Now, once you start your hike, you're going to get exercise, you're going to get sunshine. So those things help with improving your BDNF. But the eating healthy is really where I feel like hikers can continue to work on that, or at least try to maintain it as much as possible, because a lot of times us thru hikers go, well, I'm just going to burn it off anyway, so I'm going to eat all the junk I want to. And you are, and you can, but I think if mental toughness and your health is really important to you and trying to make sure you're successful at your thru hike, then eating as healthy as you can on trail is important. And like I mentioned, blueberries. You can dehydrate blueberries or get like freeze-dried blueberries that you can add into your oatmeal, or just getting as healthy of a diet as you can on trail is a good idea. Next, I want to talk about actively choosing the hard way in everyday life. Now, I don't mean like go cuss people out and make your life more difficult or cause problems in your life. But I saw this guest on Andrew Huberman's podcast. His name was Michael Easter, and he was talking about the 2% statistic that deals with stairs versus an elevator and going from the first floor to the second floor. And he said 100% of people know that the best option for them and their health long term is to take the stairs. But we 98% of the time, or 98% of people, will take the easy route and go on the elevator, even though they know that that's the worst thing for them. So his idea to kind of combat this and focus on long-term health is to be in that 2% that does things a little bit harder, but it pays off in the long run. So other examples are parking at the farthest parking spot from the grocery store, carrying in the grocery store a basket of groceries, as long as you're not getting like 2 buggies full, but instead of pushing a few groceries in the buggy. Obviously, taking on more movement is better for us, but also if you're preparing for a thru hike, moving more is going to get you used to the everyday demands of being on your feet for hours and hours on end. But it's not even just the physical aspect of that you'll benefit from as far as thru hiking. It's also that mental choice of choosing the harder thing every day, because on a thru hike, you have to commit to that every single day for months, hundreds of miles. That I would rather walk from Mexico to Canada than drive a car when it would take me a lot less time, you know. So actively making that decision all the time to do it the harder way, I think will translate well to a thru hike. Next, do things that make you mentally uncomfortable. Just like lifting weights is not necessarily fun, it's hard and you're uncomfortable if you're truly building muscle, but it's the same thing with our brains. We have to push those boundaries and work a little bit harder to expand our mental toughness. So for every person, this will be a little bit different as to what makes you uncomfortable, but your brain will become more and more comfortable with stepping outside of its comfort zone, and you'll find that you're more and more confident about a lot of different things. Realize anxiety is normal. If you think about it, our bodies are designed to be anxious. Like from the start, in the caveman days when we were all being chased around by apex predators, and you know, it was kind of important to have that anxiety and fear. And so those things are hardwired into us. They don't necessarily pay off as much these days because we don't have all of the same threats that we used to. I mean, there are still threats, but the time that's not fun to be anxious is when you're thinking about how you'd like to apply for a new job or a promotion, and then you get anxious about it and it shoots you down from ever doing that. That anxiety is not serving you well in that way. So sometimes just recognizing why we have anxiety to start with, why you're experiencing that and feeling that way, and then going, this is normal, but it's not serving me right now, so I'm going to try to push through that. I think this one is really important for actually getting people to go out and start the trail, because a lot of folks will plan through hikes for years and years, and they end up not doing them because of the anxiety of overcoming that big trip. Like, you can always go home, it's not something that once you start, you're stuck. So it's just a short backpacking trip. And sometimes people have too much anxiety to even go on their first backpacking trip. So just recognizing why it exists, that it's normal, but it's not serving me right now. So I'm going to push through and do this thing, starting my first step of my backpacking trip or through hike. Speak to yourself with positivity and have gratitude.
Dang, I'm a crybaby.
This is one that I need to work on, especially like the self-deprecating talk, being like, oh, I left XYZ at home today. I'm an idiot. I catch myself saying stuff like that all the time, and I will try to say, no, you're not an idiot. You're just preoccupied because you're stressing about whatever thing is going on in your life, and you were just forgetful today because of that thing. And so trying to reverse whatever ugliness I say, first you have to recognize that you're being ugly to yourself or being negative in general, gosh, today really just sucks. Like, okay, or I'm having a tough time today because I didn't sleep well last night, but hey, I'm mentally tough enough to deal with it. I will overcome it, and tomorrow's a new day. So just trying to focus on really where your brain goes throughout the day, because if you teach it negativity, then oftentimes it will stay in that pathway. It will stay on the path to negativity. But if you start trying to rewire your brain to positivity, then that's where it will go. So how does this positive self-talk and positivity in general translate to the trail and the through hiking experience? Well, obviously, saying things like, I'm strong, I'm able to do this, I will make it to the end, instead of like, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I'm strong enough, and lingering in that self-doubt. One of the things that I tell fellow through hikers when I hear them being timid and not confident about their through hikes is, don't say, I'm attempting a through hike. Yes, technically you are, but say, I am through hiking, I am a through hiker. Don't say, if I get to Katahdin. You say, when I get to Katahdin. Now, yes, I recognize that there is a chance of failure, and I do think it's important to learn how to process and accept failure and learn from it. But I don't think that dwelling on the possibility of that every day on a through hike is beneficial to you, and definitely not contributing to being more successful. So focus on positivity, focus on hyping yourself up and saying, I can do this and I will do this. And as far as gratitude goes, sometimes life is not fun. Sometimes things are really hard. And in the face of adversity, it's hard not to dwell on what's going wrong. But as a mental exercise, when you find yourself just like having a pity party, really try to look at things that you do appreciate that are going the right way. And this is going to help a lot on trail, because there are days that are not going to be sunshine and butterflies. Like, they're going to be wet and cold and miserable. But when inclement weather is happening, the rain is recharging the water sources. Like, I would have a longer water carry if these water sources were not flowing. I like water. I need it to live. So grateful for the rain. Or I'm grateful that in 5 miles I'm going to be to town and get out of this rain. On days where you are having horrible physical discomfort or you're just not feeling it, looking at the beauty around you and being grateful for the freedom to be out there enjoying it. Just find that thing to cling to that helps get your mind out of the trenches of negativity. And finally, the last mental exercise I want to encourage you to do before a through hike is learning to let go of things that you don't control. When something goes wrong and it just ticks you off or upsets you, really look at the situation and say, is this something that my actions could have changed? Or is this something that I can now control going forward? And if it's no on those questions, then let it go. You have to recognize this is out of my control. And so I'm going to channel my efforts into something that I can actually control, whether that is creating a solution, changing gears, whatever it is. But even if I can't control that, and to get my mind off of it, I'm going home to play with my kids or whatever, you cannot, well, you can, but it's wasteful to put energy into things that you don't have power over. And then they end up having power over you. On trail, you will have these situations come up, whether that's a fire closure or inclement weather or even an injury that was just really out of your control, a freak thing that happened. If you have practiced this mental exercise, you will be better served, because immediately you will start putting your efforts into your next move, how to get around the closure, what you need to do about whatever issue you're dealing with, instead of just getting bogged down in something that you really cannot change. So anyway, those are my suggestions for how to improve your mental toughness before you go out backpacking and through hiking. And even if you never backpacked or through hiked, this can improve your life in general. And it's really interesting because I've found that having the mental toughness to begin a through hike, and then all of the mental toughness and confidence that comes with completing a through hike, where I'm like, man, if I can through hike, then I can definitely do XYZ. And then being able to do that, and then having the mental toughness to start another through hike. It's just like this cycle that keeps going around and round and round, and it's actually an endless cycle for the better. So it makes sense to practice these things before you get out there, and like I said, even if you never get out there. That is all I have for y'all today. I hope you found this video useful. If you have any other techniques that you think could improve mental toughness, please feel free to share in the comments below. Thank y'all so much for watching, and we will see y'all next time.